Public perception of municipal fire defense centers on a reactive strike force, multi-ton engines deploying hundreds of gallons of water to suppress an active blaze. However, a city's effective defense begins long before an engine leaves the station. Community risk reduction, or CRR, is a proactive strategy designed to identify and mitigate hazards before they reach the point of ignition. This framework is exemplified by the Anaheim Fire and Rescue structural model, which balances four principal elements: education, engineering, enforcement, and evaluation. Executing this framework requires a specialized tiered workforce, with distinct roles tailored to different levels of risk and technical complexity. Fire prevention functions as a highly stratified ecosystem, engineered to address specific hazards across diverse environments, from commercial high-rises to the wildland-urban interface. To understand how a municipality engineers fire safety, we can map the four specific roles that transition the fire service from public education to forensic analysis. Advancing through these positions requires rigorous, nationally recognized certification pathways that validate a professional's technical expertise. This CRR ecosystem follows a tiered structure. As we move from the broad base to the narrow peak, the roles escalate in specialized human capital and legal authority, starting with first responders and ascending to inspectors and investigators. These credentials strictly define a professional's legal scope, establishing the hard line where public education ends and mandatory code enforcement begins. The foundational tier consists of first responder inspectors. They typically operate in low-risk environments, such as small commercial businesses and multi-residential buildings. Their primary function is conducting routine company-level inspections to identify basic hazards, such as obstructed emergency exits or fire extinguishers that have fallen out of compliance. Governed by the NFPA 1030 standard, these personnel utilize established checklists and departmental policies to recognize hazards without performing complex legal interpretations of the fire code. This slide detailing fire inspection procedures emphasizes that their goal is voluntary compliance. By explaining why a deficiency matters, they build fire safety partnerships and use the inspection as a vehicle for public education. This role is strictly limited to recognizing and reporting hazards. These responders do not have the authority to interpret or enforce complex legal codes. When a hazard requires formal legal intervention or technical interpretation, the system escalates the site data to the next tier, the specialized fire inspector. Tier 2 introduces the fire inspector. At this level, the focus shifts to high-risk occupancies, hazardous material storage, and the review of new construction developments. As shown here, fire inspectors often possess degrees in fire science to perform structural plan reviews. They must also maintain specialized certifications, specifically NFPA 131 designations as Fire Inspector 1 or 2, or the Certified Fire Protection Specialist credential. Operating under the authority having jurisdiction, fire inspectors possess the power to issue operational permits, mandate engineering changes, and write legal citations. This slide outlines specific inspection categories, ranging from routine schedules and permit checks to investigating formal complaints. Among these, the imminent hazard inspection is most critical, allowing an inspector to take immediate legal action when an occupancy poses an obvious threat. The fire inspector serves as the enforcement arm of the CRR system, ensuring that every occupancy within the jurisdiction satisfies the minimum fire and life safety requirements. Tier 3 is occupied by the fire investigator. Their operational timeline is post-incident, focused exclusively on the scientific determination of a fire's origin and cause. They sort through charred debris for evidence, analyze accelerant residue, and interview witnesses to reconstruct the events leading to ignition. Because fire causes can involve arson or negligence, these investigators work closely with the criminal justice system and are frequently required to provide expert testimony in court. Advanced forensic credentials are required here, including certifications from the National Association of Fire Investigators or the International Association of Arson Investigators. The most rigorous path leads to the federal ATF Certified Fire Investigator credential. This program involves intensive fieldwork at over 100 fire sites, preparing the candidate to qualify as a forensic expert witness. Fire investigators close the accountability loop, transforming fire incidents into analyzed data points that inform future codes or provide evidence for criminal prosecution. The CRR ecosystem also includes a specialized outlier, forest fire inspectors and prevention specialists. They operate on state and federal lands, specifically monitoring the wildland-urban interface, where natural environments meet residential communities. Their duties contrast sharply with structural inspectors. They assess weather phenomena, monitor ecological health, and direct wildland suppression crews during large-scale incidents. This environmental focus requires degrees in forestry or environmental management, paired with certifications from the National Wildfire Suppression Association. While they operate outside of municipal building codes, their role in managing controlled burns and natural fire cycles is essential for preventing catastrophic wildfires from reaching adjacent cities. These specialized roles function as interconnected nodes in a continuous data-sharing network. When a first responder cannot achieve compliance, site data is handed to a fire inspector. This integration allows inspectors to freeze building permits until a structure is brought into compliance. This network also creates a forensic feedback loop. After a fire, investigators rely on historical inspection logs to establish the building's baseline condition before the incident occurred. The strength of a municipality's risk reduction strategy lies in this collaborative overlap, where the technical limitations of one certification trigger the specialized legal authority of the next. The code and the community risk reduction pyramid reveals fire prevention as a highly technical, multidisciplinary field. Each level of this ecosystem is gated by specialized, nationally recognized certifications, ensuring that those who manage municipal risk possess the necessary expertise. This structure coordinates baseline public education, rigorous code enforcement, environmental management, and forensic accountability into a single defensive network. A city achieves true resilience when highly trained specialists identify and neutralize hazards before a fire can even begin. The code and the professionals certified to enforce it serve as the primary defense against fire, preempting the need for suppression through rigorous, proactive prevention.